My guest today is Mattie Parker, one of two candidates for mayor of Fort Worth. So we're talking at the A&M University School of Law, her alma mater. So Mattie, what did you learn in law school that's helped you with your career in state and local government?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I'd like to thank the school. I mean, I was the last graduating class of Texas Wesleyan University right before it became Texas A&M School of Law, and I was really fortunate to go to night school and work full time during my tenure here at the law school. Was really alongside people from all walks of life. There were doctors, there were folks that had served in Afghanistan, other places. And really what I learned here is the importance to listen before you take action. Analytical thinking, everything can have a legal component to it, and I continue to use that today. But I chose this spot just because I did a lot of growing up here, right? Career-wise, I had really loved public service. And this was an opportunity for me to kind of spread my wings and figure out professionally what I wanted to go do next.
The recent general election, we had around 13% voter turnout, which was actually up from the previous 2 years. So I'm curious, as mayor, if you're elected, what will you do to increase voter turnout, or even just on the upcoming runoff election? How will you increase voter turnout and civic engagement in Fort Worth?
Well, you hit it well. I mean, I am optimistic. We've seen more interest, around double the number of voters that came out this last round. I'm hopeful the same number of people, maybe double, come out for the runoff. Folks are finally starting to realize that the real change in action in policy is closest to you at the city level, your mayor and city council members. And so the more we can do to really be transparent, to focus on the good things that are happening at City Hall, have good governance, that conversation that goes back and forth, more people will be interested in who's serving them. But overall, I'm proud of Fort Worth for showing up. Let's keep doing it. Bring your people to vote and remind people that even if they didn't vote in the first round, they can vote in the runoff as long as they're registered voters here in Fort Worth.
Of course, June 5th, can't say that enough. Come out again on June 5th. What issues are resonating with Fort Worth voters?
I think the most important thing for in my campaign has been to run a policy-focused campaign, focus on what brings us together rather than what divides us. I know that may sound cliche, but I just really do believe, Eddie, that at the core, we do want to try to get along. We want to kind of, get to the root of what really holds us back in Fort Worth and try to work together to solve those problems. We're not perfect. There's going to be partisan politics that play in, but I have really noticed that resonates with people. Being a straight shooter, being someone that's really open and honest about your positions, being accessible, transparent, really using social media in a new way to make sure voters feel like they're accessible and they're kind of seeing somebody for who they really are. It's not this facade or all made up. Those are all things that I think are really important in this election.
Can you highlight one or two issues in particular?
So I think the first would be just safe and quality neighborhoods across all of Fort Worth. Listening to residents, everyone chooses a certain area of the city, Eddie, that they want to live in, whether it's in North Fort Worth, Central inside 820, West Fort Worth, East Fort Worth. And rather than the city dictating what their neighborhood needs to look like, really listen to community, quality open spaces and parks, street infrastructure, water infrastructure, and of course, what policing means to every neighborhood is also important. Also first responders, our fire department really meeting the needs, community centers, libraries, all of those things that really make a high quality first-class all-American city. Those are the number of the top thing I think I've heard from people that resonates with them. And then again, it's that same issue of what are the things at City Hall that have nothing to do with all the craziness going on in Washington, D.C. or even in Austin. It's just normal policy that needs to happen at City Hall, and people want to know what's going on. And so one thing I've gotten a lot of good reaction from is demystifying what happens at City Hall. I want to do a podcast every week, probably 10 minutes, right? Really easy, accessible ways for people to get their information on a quick commute to school or to work with their kids. I think those things are important because there are so many wonderful things that happen, good news stories that happen at City Hall, and also some really important decisions that I don't think right now we're really meeting community where they are. We're in an on-demand culture right now, so when I talk about that with residents, I notice their light bulbs come on. And the last thing I would just mention is the economy. As we emerge from COVID-19, we know every city is pivoting on what this looks like moving forward. I've said this over and over again, I'll say it again to you, that I think Fort Worth is positioned for greatness. So what does it look like to have an economy that works for all of Fort Worth? Small businesses, entrepreneurs, students coming out of high school, going into college, corporate relocation, all of those factors we really need to be looking at. And I love that we're sitting in this spot because I think this university and Texas A&M's presence here in Fort Worth could be a game changer moving forward. You probably heard the rumor about what does it look like to redevelop this corridor downtown and have A&M have a bigger presence. Those are moments in Fort Worth that will be transformative, and I can't wait to talk more about those as mayor.
One more issue, because you talked about a lot when we had our last interview, education. You have 3 kids.
I do.
People think about the Fort Worth School Board when they come to education, but the city has a role to play. Can you remind folks what the city can do to help
Absolutely.
students?
So the mayor's role, you really really have a moral imperative to care about education because I believe strongly that student success is our success as a city. We have in our current classrooms is the talent pipeline for tomorrow, future mayors and leaders of the city, and we need to invest in them. And I think we have a responsibility, and as mayor I'll do this, to work alongside your school board, your superintendents, administration, your educators across all 16 ISDs that touch Fort Worth, and say to them, what do you need to be better? We know that collective impact works. We know that students are really surviving right now in COVID-19. My fourth grader, is begging to get out of school right now and is ready for a break because it's been a really hard year for students. And we know that we're going to have to really triage differently. And what I mean by that is we're at risk of losing an entire generation of students that felt disconnected because of COVID-19. Virtual school was not working for them. Maybe they were working full time rather than going to school. All those many factors. And we really need to rally around our school districts, especially Fourth ISD, to really serve all students. And the last thing I'll say about education, I want to be pro-kid. I don't care if you're homeschool or private school or charter school, all of it. We really need to focus on what students' needs are, allow families to make decisions for their kids, and allow City Hall to really facilitate those interactions in a meaningful way, and be pro-kid again, because education is really the bedrock of any successful economy.
Public education, neighborhood safety, government transparency are some of the big issues Mattie's advocating for. So make your final pitch to voters come June 5th.
Absolutely. So you can visit my website, mattieformayor.com. Maybe a little more fun, just follow us on Instagram and Facebook to kind of see what we're doing. Those are all important places. And then I should have mentioned, Eddie, I love the Fourth Weekly, truly. My husband and I are big music people, and I love what your publication represents. This city is so rich with opportunity and creativity, and we're going to capitalize on that as mayor. We don't miss a concert. Usually my husband and I, we do a lot of that, and we missed that during COVID-19. I just wanted to say thank you to you and your readers for making that happen. Yeah, absolutely. So May 24th is early voting. June 5th is election day. So everybody get out and vote. Bring people with you. And again, if you didn't vote in the first round, you can vote in this one as long as you're a registered voter.
You can make up for it.
Exactly.
It was a pleasure getting to know you,
Thank
Mattie.
you, Eddie.
Best of luck on June 5th.
Appreciate it. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.